The bridge of the Defiance was quiet. Captain Alan Carter stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his eyes fixed on the main screen. At 55 years old, he was a veteran of Earth's Space Navy, with gray hair at his temples and a face lined from years of command decisions. This moment, however, was unlike any in his career. "They're approaching, sir," said Lieutenant Diane Powell from her station. "Massive ships. Our scanners count over 2,000 vessels." Carter nodded. Humanity had prepared for this day for decades. First contact with an advanced alien civilization. The fact that they came with what appeared to be a war fleet was concerning. "Status of our fleet?" Carter asked. "All 30 ships in position, sir," Powell replied. "Formation Delta, as ordered. 30 ships. It was every space-worthy military vessel Earth and its colonies had managed to build. The pride of humanity's venture into space. Until today, it had seemed impressive. "Open communication channels," Carter ordered. "Let's meet our new neighbors." The screen flickered, revealing a face that looked almost reptilian. Scaled skin in deep purple hues, yellow eyes with vertical pupils, and a lipless mouth that seemed permanently fixed in what humans might interpret as a sneer. "I am High Commander Krax of the Zarvian Empire," the alien said in perfect English. "Their intelligence gathering was excellent," Carter noted. "We have observed your species for some time. Your recent faster-than-light achievements have brought you to our attention." Carter stood straighter. "I am Captain Alan Carter of Earth's United Space Navy. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization." The alien's eyes narrowed. "Your welcome is noted. Our empire spans 3,000 star systems and has stood for 10,000 of your Earth years. We have come to formally bring your species under our protection." Carter chose his words carefully. "We appreciate your offer, but humanity prefers to establish diplomatic relations as equals." For the first time, the alien's expression changed. His mouth opened slightly, revealing rows of small, sharp teeth. It might have been a smile. It might have been something else. "Equals?" Krax asked. The universal translator conveyed what sounded like amusement. "Perhaps there is a problem with communication." The view on the screen pulled back, revealing a massive command center with dozens of Zarvian officers working at stations. In the background, a holographic display showed the relative positions of the Zarvian Armada and Earth's ships. The size difference was staggering. "Your species sends mere toys to greet an empire?" Krax broadcast across all channels. The sound of clicking and hissing, Zarvian laughter, filled the background as officers turned to look at the display. Carter's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. Next to him, Dr. Susan Miller, Earth's chief xenolinguist and diplomatic officer, stepped forward. At 48, she had spent her career preparing for this moment. "High Commander," she said calmly, "human history suggests that the strength of a civilization is not always measured by the size of its fleet." "A quaint perspective," Krax replied. "One held by many species now happily serving as protectorates in our empire." While the conversation continued, Miller's keen eyes studied the Zarvian bridge. Despite their numerical advantage, she noticed something interesting about their technology. The control interfaces seemed clunky. The materials of their ships looked dense and outdated compared to Earth's carbon nanocomposites. Their propulsion systems, based on the energy signatures visible on the readings, relied on nuclear fusion, a technology humans had improved upon decades ago. "We would like to extend an invitation," Miller said. "Perhaps a small delegation from your empire would visit Earth to discuss terms of our relationship." Krax made a dismissive gesture with a clawed hand. "There is nothing to discuss. The terms are simple. Your planet will pay a protection tribute of 20% of all resources mined and produced. Your military will be limited to defense against pirates and local threats. Your advancement will be monitored and guided by Zarvian advisors." Carter stepped forward again. "And if we decline?" The screen split to show a view of a small moon orbiting what looked like Jupiter. A single Zarvian ship moved into position. Above it, a beam of energy shot from the vessel and the moon shattered into fragments. "That was an uninhabited moon," Krax said. "We have studied your solar system thoroughly. The next demonstration could be on your Mars colony. We are not barbarians. We prefer willing subjects to conquered ones. The bridge of the Defiance fell, silent. You have 1 Earth month to prepare your acceptance, Krax continued. We will remain at the edge of your solar system until then. The communication ended. The screen returned to showing the massive Zarvian fleet holding position near Pluto's orbit. Set course for Earth, Carter ordered. Maximum speed. 8 hours later, in the underground chamber beneath Geneva, the United Planetary Defense Council gathered for an emergency session. The room was filled with the top military, scientific, and political leaders from every major nation on Earth. Director Patricia Winters, head of the council, stood at the center of the room. At 60, she had guided Earth's defense strategy for 15 years. Her white hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her expression grave as she listened to Captain Carter's report. That's the situation, Carter concluded. They've given us 1 month to surrender. The room erupted in overlapping voices. Some argued for immediate surrender to save lives. Others insisted on fighting despite the odds. Quiet, Winters said, her voice cutting through the noise. Captain Carter, based on what you observed of their technology, what is your assessment? Carter looked at Dr. Miller, who nodded slightly. They have numbers, he said, but their technology appears to be several generations behind ours in many areas. Their weapons are powerful but unrefined. Their ships are large but seem to lack the maneuverability of ours. Interesting, said General Frank Ramirez. Could that be why they're offering terms instead of simply attacking? Possibly, Miller replied. There's another factor to consider. During our conversation, I noticed they referred multiple times to their empire's age and stability. There's pride there, but also perhaps complacency. Director Winters moved to a secure console and pressed her hand against it. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing a complex network of small objects surrounding Earth and extending throughout the solar system. The Quantum Defense Network, she said. Thousands of autonomous combat units that we've been developing for the past decade, not visible to standard scans, capable of swarming tactics that could overwhelm even their numbers. Should we reveal our true capabilities? Asked Admiral Paul Bishop. Winters shook her head. Not yet. Their arrogance works in our favor. They've shown their hand while underestimating ours. She looked around the room. I propose we maintain the appearance of inferiority while accelerating the final preparations of the QDN. Let them believe we're considering surrender. The vote was unanimous. Earth would prepare for war while pretending to prepare for submission. Captain Carter, Winters said as the meeting concluded, your ship will lead the diplomatic team that maintains contact with the Zarvians. Keep them talking. We need time, Carter nodded. Yes, Director. As they left the chamber, Miller walked beside him. They mocked our tiny fleet, she said quietly. Yes, Carter replied. Let's hope they keep laughing until it's too late. 3 days after the first contact with the Zarvians, a small transport shuttle docked at Luna Base Alpha. The base, to any outside observer, appeared to be a simple research station. No weapons were visible. No military activity could be detected on its surface. This was by design. Lieutenant Greg Hoffman recently graduated from the Space Naval Academy with top honors, stepped off the shuttle. At 28, this was his first major assignment. He straightened his uniform and tried to look confident as he was met by a security officer. Lieutenant Hoffman reporting for duty, he said, handing over his identification chip. The security officer scanned it. Follow me, sir. They're waiting for you. Hoffman was led through a series of ordinary-looking corridors until they reached what appeared to be a maintenance closet. The officer placed his hand on a hidden scanner, and the EUI back wall slid open to reveal an elevator. 7th level, sir. Admiral Foster is expecting you. The elevator descended deep beneath the lunar surface. When the doors opened, Hoffman's eyes widened. Instead of the small research base shown in official records, he found himself looking at an enormous underground complex, buzzing with activity. Hundreds of personnel moved purposefully through a command center at least 3 times larger than the one on his training station. Impressive, isn't it? Said a voice behind him. Hoffman turned to see a woman in her early 40s with short black hair and the insignia of a lead engineer on her uniform. "Olivia Rodriguez," she said, offering her hand. "I'll be showing you around before your meeting with Admiral Foster." "What is this place?" Hoffman asked as they walked through the command center. "None of this was in my briefing." Rodriguez smiled. "That's because officially, none of this exists. Welcome to the heart of the quantum defense network, Lieutenant." She led him to a large viewing window overlooking a massive hangar. Inside were thousands of small craft, each about the size of a car, arranged in neat rows that stretched as far as he could see. "Are those fighters?" he asked. "Combat drones," Rodriguez corrected. "Each one equipped with our most advanced AI systems and weapons. And there are facilities like this hidden throughout the solar system." A door at the end of the corridor opened, and a tall man with a weathered face and admiral's insignia stepped out. "Lieutenant Hoffman, welcome to the real Luna base," said Admiral William Foster. "Follow me, there's much to explain, and little time." They entered a secure briefing room where a 3D display showed the entire solar system, with red dots indicating the Zarvian fleet's position and blue dots showing Earth's 30 ships. "The Zarvians think they have us outmatched," Foster said, gesturing to the display. "And that's exactly what we want them to think." With a wave of his hand, the display changed. Thousands of tiny green dots appeared throughout the solar system, concentrated around Earth, the Moon, and Mars. "Each of our 30 ships serves as a control hub for hundreds of these autonomous combat units," Rodriguez explained. "They're too small to be detected by standard scans, and they use virtually no power while dormant. When activated, they give us an effective force multiplier of 500 to 1. Hoffman stared at the display. "So our fleet of 30 ships is actually an armada of 15,000 combat units," Foster finished for him. "Plus the fixed defense platforms we've positioned throughout the system." "But how do we control so many units?" Hoffman asked. "The communication lag alone would make coordinated attacks impossible at solar system distances." Rodriguez smiled and pointed to a small device on a nearby table. It looked like a simple crystal cube. "This is what gives us our real advantage," she said. "Quantum entanglement communication. Instantaneous, secure, and impossible to jam or intercept using conventional methods. The Zarvians still use light-speed communications with signal boosters," Foster added. "We've been monitoring their transmissions. They have no concept of quantum entanglement yet." Hoffman was trying to process the scale of what he was seeing. "And the Zarvians don't know any of this?" "No," Foster said firmly. "And that's our greatest advantage. They see a small, technologically backward species with a handful of ships. They have no idea what we're truly capable of." The Admiral activated another screen showing a live feed from Mars. A training exercise was underway. Commander Keith Johnson, a stocky man with a reputation for tactical brilliance, was directing a squadron of drones against simulated enemy targets. "Watch closely," Foster instructed. On the screen, a single human ship released hundreds of drones that quickly spread out in a complex formation. As the simulated enemy fired, the drones moved in perfect coordination, some absorbing hits while others darted in from multiple angles simultaneously. Within minutes, the simulated enemy ships were all neutralized. A single human vessel coordinating attacks from hundreds of vectors at once, Foster explained. "No defense system designed for conventional warfare can handle this." "Your assignment," Rodriguez told Hoffman, "is to join Commander Johnson on Mars and help finalize the deployment protocols. Your specialty in swarm tactics is exactly what we need right now." Elsewhere in the complex, Dr. Susan Miller sat with her team of linguists and intelligence analysts. Screens around them displayed intercepted Zarvian communications, both the original language and translated versions. "Look at this," said one of the analysts, highlighting a section of text. "They're discussing the tribute rates for different species in their empire. Some have been paying the same rates for over 300 years with no adjustments for inflation or economic growth. And here," Miller pointed to another communication, "their military training protocols. They haven't been updated in almost a century. It's like they've stagnated." She leaned back in her chair, thinking. They haven't faced a serious threat in so long that they've grown complacent. They maintain their vast territory through intimidation rather than innovation. A young analyst looked up from his screen. Dr. Miller, I found something interesting. Historical records that mention the last species to resist them, a civilization called the Notori. The Zarvians destroyed their homeworld as an example to others. Miller's expression darkened. Then we need to make sure we're not next, and the best way to do that is to understand our enemy completely. In Geneva, Director Patricia Winters drafted a message to the Zarvians. It was carefully worded to sound submissive while buying time. In order to properly prepare our surrender terms and calculate the tribute amounts, we respectfully request a 1-week extension to the deadline. The response came 12 hours later. High Commander Krax appeared on the screen, his expression smug. Your request is granted. Use the time wisely to prepare your planet for a smooth transition to Imperial rule. Any attempt to resist or delay further will result in immediate action against your Mars colony. As the transmission ended, Winters turned to Captain Carter, who had been standing off-screen. That buys us the time we need to finish preparations, she said. How soon can the Quantum Defense Network be fully operational? Admiral Foster reports 3 more days, Director, Carter replied. We're accelerating the final system tests. Winters nodded. Good. They think we're accepting defeat. And, when they realize the truth? Carter asked. By then, Winters said, it will be too late for them. 5 days into the 1-week extension, the Zarvians grew restless. On the bridge of the Imperial flagship, High Commander Krax paced back and forth, his clawed feet clicking against the metal floor. They are stalling, he said to his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vex. These humans think they can delay the inevitable. Vex, whose scales were a lighter shade of purple than Krax's, nodded in agreement. Our scout ships report increased activity around their outer colonies, particularly on Titan. Krax stopped pacing. Titan, the methane mining colony. His yellow eyes narrowed. Perhaps we should remind these humans of our power, send 20 battle cruisers to their Saturn moon. Have them destroy the mining facilities but leave the colony intact. We need those resources operational when we take control. And if they resist? Vex asked. Krax made a dismissive gesture. 2 small human ships guard Titan. What resistance could they offer? 16 hours later, Captain Nancy Chen of the Earth vessel Valiant received the alert. At 41, she had spent most of her career protecting the outer colonies. Her ship and its sister vessel, the Fearless, were the only visible military presence at Titan. Multiple warp signatures detected, reported her sensor officer. 20 large vessels on approach, Zarvian design. Chen's face remained calm, though her heart raced. She had been briefed on the Quantum Defense Network, but her ship had never deployed it in actual combat. Alert the Fearless, she ordered. And send word to Earth. Tell them Operation First Light is commencing. She opened a secure channel to the colony. Governor Howard, commence emergency protocols. Move all civilians to the shelters. Governor Howard's face appeared on screen, his expression tense. Captain, we have 3,000 people here. Our shelters won't hold all of them. They will only target military assets, Chen assured him, hoping she was right. Stay calm and follow the protocols. The Zarvian ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, forming a perfect crescent formation above Titan. They were massive vessels, each one at least 5 times the size of the Valiant. The main screen flickered, and a Zarvian officer appeared. Human vessels. This is Commander Draz of the Zarvian Empire. By order of High Commander Krax, we have come to claim this colony. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Chen straightened in her command chair. This is Captain Nancy, Chen of Earth's United Space Navy. Titan is under Earth's protection. Any hostile action will be met with force. The Zarvian's mouth widened in what might have been a smile. You have 2 small ships. We have 20 battle cruisers. What force could you possibly offer? Chen's fingers moved across her control panel, activating a special sequence. Throughout her ship, hidden compartments opened. You count ships, she replied calmly. We count firepower. Commander Draz seemed confused by her response. You have 1 minute to surrender, or we will open fire. Chen cut the transmission and opened a secure channel to Captain Raj Singh on the Fearless. Are you ready, Raj? Singh's determined face appeared on screen. Drone swarm prepped and ready, Nancy. Let's show them what humanity can do. Execute pattern Omega, Chen ordered. Release the drones. From both human ships, thousands of small craft poured forth like a swarm of metallic insects. Each was barely larger than a person, equipped with advanced weapons and guided by sophisticated AI. They moved in perfect coordination, their thrusters glowing blue against the darkness of space. The Zarvians, true to their word, opened fire after 1 minute. Massive energy beams lanced out toward the Valiant and Fearless, but the human ships were already moving, executing evasive maneuvers that seemed impossible for vessels their size. First wave, engage, Chen commanded. 500 drones accelerated toward the Zarvian ships, moving too quickly for their targeting systems to track effectively. Using quantum positioning data fed through the entanglement network, the drones identified weaknesses in the Zarvian shields. On the lead Zarvian battlecruiser, Commander Draz watched in confusion as his sensors registered thousands of small objects surrounding his fleet. What are these? He demanded. Some kind of missiles? Before his officers could respond, the first wave of drones struck. They didn't explode on impact as expected. Instead, they attached themselves to specific points on the Zarvian ships and deployed precise energy-cutting tools, slicing through shield emitters and weapon systems with surgical accuracy. Second wave, target their engines, Chen ordered. Third wave, communication arrays. Another 1,000 drones swarmed forward, each group focusing on specific systems across the Zarvian fleet. Within minutes, 5 enemy battlecruisers had lost power and were drifting helplessly. What is happening? Draz shouted as his ship shuddered. The lights on his bridge flickered. Return fire! Destroy those things! The Zarvians tried to adapt, firing wildly at the drone swarms. Occasionally they hit one, but for every drone they destroyed, 50 more continued their attack. Their defensive systems were designed to counter large weapons, not thousands of small agile targets attacking simultaneously from all directions. 3 hours into the battle, all 20 Zarvian ships had been neutralized. Some drifted powerless, in space. Others had their weapons and engines intact but could no longer communicate with each other due to precision strikes on their communication systems. On the Valiant, Chen surveyed the results on her screen. They had lost approximately 30% of their drones, but both human ships were virtually undamaged. More importantly, the Titan colony was safe. Begin recovery operations, she ordered, and prepare boarding parties for the Zarvian command. Ship, I want prisoners for interrogation. When the human boarding team entered the Zarvian flagship, they found the crew in shock. Commander Draz stood with his hands raised in surrender, his yellow eyes wide with disbelief. How? He asked the human officer leading the boarding party. How could 2 ships defeat 20? The officer simply secured the commander's clawed hands with restraints and led him away. Back on Earth, Director Winters stood before the Planetary Council, explaining the outcome of the Titan encounter. The battle was a calculated risk, she said. We revealed some of our drone technology, but not its full capabilities or numbers. The Zarvians now know we have tricks they didn't anticipate, but they don't yet understand the true scale of our defenses. What will they do next? Asked one of the council members. Admiral Foster stepped forward, pointing to a holographic display of the solar system. Based on their standard protocols, High Commander Krax has 2 options. He could retreat to regroup and reassess, or he'll attack with greater numbers. Winters finished. His empire has stood unchallenged for millennia. His pride won't allow him to retreat from what he sees as an inferior species. On the Imperial flagship at the edge of the solar system, Krax received the news of his fleet's defeat at Titan. His roar of rage echoed through the command deck, causing officers to cower. Impossible, he shouted, smashing a display with his fist. 20 ships defeated by 2. Sub-Commander Vex approached cautiously. The survivors report some kind of drone technology we haven't seen before. Small craft that operated in perfect Coordination. Krax's breathing slowed as he regained control. These humans have some tricks, he said more calmly, but they cannot stand against the full might of the Empire. He turned to his tactical officer. Prepare half the armada to advance into their system. We will crush these insects and take their world, as we have done 1,000 times before. As the orders went out, Vex looked troubled. Perhaps we should study their technology further before. Do you question my command? Krax interrupted, his voice dangerously quiet. Vex lowered his head submissively. No, High Commander. I will prepare the fleet immediately. As Vex left, Krax stared at the holographic image of Earth floating before him. Clever humans, he muttered. But not clever enough. Alarms sounded throughout the command center beneath Geneva, as the massive Zarvian fleet began to move. Over 1,000 battle cruisers, each carrying smaller attack vessels, formed up into attack formation and accelerated toward the inner solar. System Director Winters studied the tactical display with Admiral Foster at her side. They're coming in faster than we expected, she said. How ready are we? The outer defense rings are fully operational, Foster replied. Inner rings at 93%. Mars defense grid is complete. Earth orbital platforms need another, 6 hours. Winters nodded. It will have to be enough. Are Captain Carter and Dr. Miller in position? Yes, Foster confirmed. The Defiance is leading our visible fleet back to Earth orbit, exactly as planned. The plan was simple but risky. Humanity would appear to retreat, pulling all 30 of their ships into defensive formation around Earth. This would draw the Zarvians into position for the trap, while making them believe they had the upper hand, aboard. The Defiance Captain Carter watched the tactical display as his ship led the human fleet in what appeared to be a fighting retreat. Zarvian advance fleet will intercept us in 3 hours, Lieutenant Powell reported. They're moving faster than their standard approach patterns. Carter nodded. They're eager after their defeat at Titan. Broadcast the retreat order to all ships. Make sure the Zarvians intercept it. Dr. Miller, who had remained aboard the Defiance to continue gathering intelligence, entered the bridge. Captain, I've just finished analyzing the communications from the captured Zarvian officers. I found something interesting. She activated a small holographic projector showing Zarvian fleet formations. They always use the same encirclement pattern when they believe they have an enemy cornered. It's been standard practice for over 500 years without variation. Carter studied the pattern. And you think they'll use this against us? I'm certain of it, Miller replied. Their tactical doctrine hasn't evolved because it's never needed to. They overwhelm with numbers using this specific pattern to prevent any escape. Carter smiled. Then we know exactly where they'll position each ship. Admiral Foster will be pleased. What the Zarvians didn't know was that the battle at Titan had been more than just a defense. Every piece of debris from destroyed drones contained dormant nanodrones that had attached themselves to the returning Zarvian ships. These microscopic machines had been gathering data and spreading throughout the Zarvian fleet, undetected by their security scans. In orbit around Mars, Lieutenant Hoffman had completed his training with Commander Johnson and was now overseeing the final activation of the drone control systems. Status report, Johnson demanded as he entered the control room. All systems green, Hoffman replied. The Mars defense grid is fully operational. We've updated the drone swarm tactics based on what we learned at Titan. Johnson nodded approvingly. The Zarvians will adapt their defenses after what happened at Titan. They'll try to counter the drones, but they don't know about the nano units yet. Or the quantum communication network, Hoffman added. They'll be expecting standard light-speed communications with the delays that entails. Which gives us another critical advantage, Johnson said, studying the display showing the approaching Zarvian fleet. They think they understand what happened at Titan, but they've only seen the surface of our capabilities. 2 days later, the human fleet completed its retreat to Earth orbit. The 30 ships arranged themselves in a defensive formation that, to Zarvian eyes, looked desperate and final. On the Imperial flagship now within Jupiter's orbit, High Commander Krax observed the human formation with satisfaction. They gathered to make their last stand, he said to Sub-Commander Vex. Their trick at Titan will not save them now. We have adjusted our defenses against their drone weapons, Vex reported. Our ships now have enhanced point defense systems and modified shields to counter small, fast-moving objects. Excellent, Crax said. Begin the encirclement pattern. Position our forces to surround their planet completely. No escape, no mercy. On Crax's command, the massive Zarvian armada spread out, forming the exact pattern Dr. Miller had predicted. Hundreds of ships took positions to create a perfect sphere of destruction around Earth, with additional forces held in reserve to deal with any surprises. Once in position, Crax opened a communication channel to all Earth frequencies. People of Earth, he broadcast, his voice transmitted to every receiver on the planet. Your clever toys at Titan have earned you a quicker death, nothing more. Your fleet is surrounded. Your defenses are inadequate. Surrender now, and some of your people may be spared to serve the Empire. In the command center beneath Geneva, Director Winters listened to the transmission with a calm expression. When it ended, she turned to Admiral Foster. Are we ready? Foster checked the final reports from all defense stations across the solar system. All systems operational, nano drones in position, quantum network stable. Winters took a deep breath. Then it's time. Give the signal. Foster activated the secure communication system. This is Admiral William Foster to all Earth Defense Forces. Operation Checkmate is now active. I repeat, Operation Checkmate is now active. Throughout the solar system, hidden systems awakened. On every human ship, drone launch bays opened. From the lunar surface, what appeared to be ordinary craters split open to reveal launch tubes. In Earth orbit, satellites transformed, releasing clouds of combat drones. At the same moment, the nano-drones that had infiltrated the Zarvian fleet activated. They were too small to cause physical damage, but they weren't designed to. Instead, they attached themselves to communication systems, creating localized interference that prevented Zarvian ships from talking to each other. On his flagship, Crax was about to give the order to open fire when his communication officer turned to him in panic. High Commander, we've lost contact with the fleet. Each ship is isolated. What? How? Crax demanded, but before he could get an answer, the view screen showed something impossible. From the seemingly small human fleet, tens of thousands of drones poured forth like a metallic storm. From the lunar surface, thousands more launched. From Earth itself, orbital platforms that had appeared to be civilian stations transformed, revealing weapon systems and releasing their own swarms. All drone groups engage targets as planned, Foster ordered from the command center. Primary targets are weapons, engines, and command systems. The human drone swarms, guided by the quantum entanglement network, moved with perfect coordination. Without the ability to communicate with each other, the Zarvian ships could not coordinate their defenses. Each vessel fought alone against hundreds of attacking drones. Return fire, Crax shouted. Launch all fighter craft. The Zarvian ships tried to defend themselves, but their formations, designed to prevent enemy ships from escaping, had spread them too thin to support each other. Their modified defenses, designed to counter the drones they had seen at Titan, were quickly overwhelmed by the sheer numbers and new tactics of the full human defense network. In the chaos of battle, Captain Carter's Defiance led a strike force of 5 ships directly toward Crax's flagship. To the Zarvians, it appeared suicidal. 5 small vessels charging toward the heart of their fleet. They're desperate, Vex said, watching the approaching human ships. A final, hopeless attack. Crax wasn't so certain. Nothing about these humans has been predictable. Prepare for... His words were cut off as the ship shuddered violently. The human vessels had released a special type of drone that specifically targeted the flagship's communication array, cutting it off even from nearby ships. As the battle raged across the solar system, Dr. Miller monitored Zarvian communication, fragments from the Defiance. Their command structure is collapsing, she reported to Carter. Without central coordination, they can't mount an effective defense. Carter nodded grimly. Then we proceed to Phase 2. All ships, execute Formation Delta. Target their fleet headquarters. The human attack had only just begun. The Great Deception was working perfectly. The battle raged for 3 days. What had begun as a simple conquest for the Zarvians turned into their worst nightmare. The space around Earth became a chaotic storm of combat as human drone swarms systematically disabled enemy ships one by one. High Commander Krax watched from his flagship as his mighty armada fell apart. Ship after ship went dark on his tactical displays. His officers reported growing casualties and system failures. For the first time in his long military career, Krax felt fear. "This cannot be happening," he whispered, his scaled hands gripping the command rail. "How can they defeat us? We are the Zarvian Empire." Sub-Commander Vex approached cautiously. "High Commander, we've lost contact with 60% of our fleet. The human drones are disabling our ships faster than we can respond." Krax's yellow eyes narrowed with sudden decision. "If we cannot win, we will make them suffer. Set course for their homeworld, maximum speed. We will crash this ship into their largest city." Vex looked shocked. "But High Commander, our crew will die with honor serving the Empire," Krax roared. "Execute my orders." The massive flagship turned, its engines flaring as it accelerated directly toward Earth. On its current course, it would impact North America with force enough to cause devastation comparable to a large asteroid strike. In Earth's orbit, Captain Alan Carter on the Defiance detected the flagship's sudden movement. "They're making a suicide run," he reported to Admiral Foster. "Their trajectory will take them directly to the eastern coast of North America." Foster's response was immediate. "Intercept and disable. Use all available drones. This is Priority Alpha." The Defiance changed course to pursue the Zarvian flagship, releasing its remaining drone complement in a concentrated strike force. 5 other human ships joined the pursuit, adding their drones to the swarm. "Target their engines and weapons only," Carter ordered. "We want their command center intact." The drone swarm overtook the Zarvian flagship, focusing their attacks with surgical precision. Thousands of small craft swarmed over the massive vessel, cutting through hull plating to reach critical systems. Within minutes, the flagship's engines died and it drifted harmlessly in space. "We have them," Carter reported. "The flagship is disabled but intact. Request permission to board." "Permission granted," Foster replied. "Take the commander alive if possible." When the human boarding party breached the Zarvian command deck, they found High Commander Krax standing proudly, refusing to flee. His officers had abandoned their posts, but Krax remained. "You have won, humans," he said as Carter approached. "Kill me and be done with it." Carter shook his head. "That's not how we operate, Commander. You're being taken into custody." The fighting stops now. 2 weeks later, in a massive chamber beneath Geneva, representatives from Earth met with the remaining Zarvian leadership. Dr. Susan Miller led the negotiation team, with Director Winters and Captain Carter at her side. The terms were surprisingly generous. Earth demanded recognition as equals and fair integration into the galactic community, but did not seek revenge or conquest. "We could destroy your empire," Miller told the Zarvian delegation. "Instead, we offer partnership. Your knowledge of the galaxy combined with our innovation could benefit all species." Following the negotiations, Director Winters addressed a global broadcast. "Today marks humanity's entrance onto the galactic stage not as conquerors, but as innovators. We did not win through brute force, but through ingenuity, strategy, and restraint." 1 month after the battle, Captain Carter and Dr. Miller stood on the observation deck of the Defiance, watching as ships from a dozen alien civilizations previously subjugated by the Zarvians arrived to form new alliances with Earth. The Zarvian defeat had created a power vacuum, and humanity's reputation for both military prowess and mercy had made them natural leaders. "They mocked our tiny fleet," Carter said quietly. Miller nodded, looking out at the stars. "They never understood. Humans have never measured strength by size alone." In the distance, the first of Earth's new diplomatic vessels prepared to depart, its mission to help establish a more equitable galactic alliance, one where innovation, cooperation, and justice mattered more than the size of one's armada.